have some crazy smile lines when I get older because I always make this face. This is so funny. Even when I don't realize it, I'm always just like scrolling through my phone, like preparing to see what my feed is gonna bring me. I think today I'd like to talk about PTSD. Just a disclaimer, I'm not like a professional, whatever, but just from my personal experience, having CPTSD and PTSD, um, it's definitely not talked enough, I feel like. And it's hard to like integrate into society when you carry something so like painful and heavy. And a lot of people don't understand it, I guess. Um, so, I mean, my experience with CPTSD and PTSD, it just feels like I have a hard time connecting with others. I almost low-key feel autistic, even though I'm not. Like, I always ask myself, I'm like, is there something wrong with me? Because, like, it feels like no matter what I do or no matter how I communicate, I still, like, I feel like, I feel like a spy. You know that game where you, like, somebody gives, like, somebody has, like, a topic, and it's a specific topic, and everybody gives out something related to that topic, and the one spy or whatever doesn't know the topic, so they have to, like, guess, like they'll just like a generic topic like sports or athletics and you have to guess and the topic could be like basketball and you have to guess, you have to be like strength training or something, like just to almost fit in. That's how I feel like in public when I talk to people all of the time. It feels like every time I have a conversation with someone, it's like a quick time event where I have to pick the right answer. Otherwise, I hear da na 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 and like and like it's like -1 point, and I'm like, wait, I didn't like wait, come back. Like I don't know. I just have a hard time like small talking. I can't do it. I have to talk like in depth. I'm just a very depthy person. And I feel like throughout my life, I've kind of pushed people away or scared people. I shouldn't say pushed, but I've scared people away from me because of how deep I was, even at like a young age. I remember one of my best friends from childhood. Um, we were like really close, like because we just had things in common. We were just around each other, so it was really easy to be friends. You know what I mean? It just like made sense. But as I got older, we kind of had like a falling out because after I turned a certain age, I was like, I actually want to focus on God. I don't want to just be like, I'm going to go to church and this is going to look cute and I want to follow these trends and da 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 and I need to do this and I need to fit in. There became like a point in my life where the idea of fitting in, I repelled so much that my friends didn't want to be around me because I chose not to like buy the trendy outfits and talk the trendy way and know all the artists and the Instagram and the this and the that. And I remember I used to literally get made fun of by this one friend in front of other people too. Oh, you don't know who that is, or you don't know what this is, and I'm just like, I don't care. But like at the time dealing with my trauma, and I didn't know I was in trauma. I just always knew that it was safer to pretend that I did know. And so if I said something, it was always like a guessing game for me where I was like, who's saying blank space? Right? And I'm guessing and I'm like, who do I even know? What artists don't even know? Nobody. So I throw out a name there and she's like, what? Or I'd be like, oh, have you heard of the new song? I don't even remember the song now. I don't even want to guess now because I feel like it's going to be the same thing. But it was a song by Ed Sheeran and I heard them singing in class or whatever. And I'm like, I went back to that same friend. I was like, oh, did you hear about the new song? Like, it's so cool. And she's like, that's not new. That's been out forever. I don't know that. I'm sorry. But it just felt like every time I ran into instances like that, it would like cause a weird social divide where they were just like, what's wrong with her? And I'm like, I didn't realize this was so important. I thought that, just being friends was important and just enjoying each other's company and learning new things was important. But I guess that's not how it is for everyone. And growing up, I almost want to apologize to my younger self for trying to conceal herself so much. Now, she did a really good job. I did a really good job not concealing myself as much as other kids did. I definitely was myself a lot more than I am today. I was super outspoken. I was happy. I was laughing. I was having a good time. I did not care if somebody was bullying somebody else. I would immediately call them out. I was really strong as a kid because I thought that I had a strong foundation in my home. Wrong. That's why when I became an adult, it became a lot harder for me to stand on my own because now I'm standing on my own. And it's not just because I'm an adult, but when I turn around, there's no mommy and daddy behind me. You know what I mean? It's like a wasteland. I turn around and there is no foundation. My foundation is God. That's it. You know, when I turn around, I see God as my backer. You know, I say that a lot in some of my videos. I'm just like, hold on, it's super dark in here. But I'm just like, God is my backer. You know, he's the one that supports me. So I don't have to like geek out or whatever. But I think that's where part of like my fear of failure came in. Just being afraid of like saying the wrong things, doing the wrong things. Anytime I was over a friend's house and their parents were there, I was so afraid of doing the wrong thing that I would end up doing the wrong thing because I was so like paying attention to everything that I did because I was so afraid of being hurt and punished that I couldn't just live and be a child, you know? I remember one time I went over to, it wasn't really a friend's house. I know that they were just watching me and they had kids my age because my parents were out of town doing something. And it was something so silly. It was breakfast time, and because I have issues with like food, I just have a really hard time still today like picking out a meal because I'm so afraid of not being able to finish it and being in trouble for that. So I pick out something that I know that I'll eat. So she had cereal, and so I was like, okay, I'll have some Cheerios and milk. I always eat Cheerios and milk, right? Cheerios and milk with some honey on top, like yeah, that's perfect. And she gave me Cheerios that were stale, and I didn't want to be like, oh, they are stale, they're chewy, like, but I wasn't gonna eat it. So at my house, what we would do is we can't pour it in the trash because it has milk in it, and we can't pour it in the sink because it has Cheerios in it. And we didn't have like a garbage disposal, so we would put it in the toilet and flush it. And so that's what I did. And so I snuck around. I was like, okay, don't let anybody, I don't want her to know that I didn't eat it. I don't want her to like be mad at me. And so I put it in the toilet and I flushed it. But I guess she had one of those toilets that needed to be held down to flush. I didn't know that. So it was just sitting there and I didn't know that. And she found out and I freaked out because I was like, oh my gosh, it's happening again. Like I'm going to get in trouble again. She's going to know that I didn't eat the food. She's going to be like, you're wasting food. And it was just really awkward because I remember like she pulled me aside and she's like, we can just give it to the chickens. Like we usually don't just like, you don't have to do that. You could have just told me. And I was like, no, you don't understand. Like my brain won't let me tell you. Like I'm too afraid that something's going to happen. And little things like that help happen throughout my entire childhood. Like just instances where like, because I didn't know what was normal, I didn't do what was normal. So the result wasn't normal. And it always made me feel so like separated from everyone else because even to this day, I'm still trying to figure out like what is healthy, what is normal, you know, like, so what if your child doesn't finish their food? You don't scream at them, you don't yell at them, you don't punish them, you don't take their things away. I remember my parents used to take my bed sheets and pillows and blankets off the bed and make me sleep on a mattress. I had this cute little stuffed lamb called Ming Ming. I still have him. Okay, but he was like my most favorite thing, right? And so if they really wanted to hurt me and punish me, they would take him and lock him away, and I would not be able to sleep because I needed him to sleep from 6 months old till probably 10 years old for that first beginning of my life. So he was a very important part of my life because maybe I had colic or I used to cry a lot, so they gave me him so that I would stop crying. And when they really wanted to punish me, not to teach me a lesson, just to make me hurt, they would take him away. And I would be like, I wouldn't be able to sleep. And it was really painful for me because I just couldn't understand. And there was another time where like they would like time out, right? So they would lock me in my room. I remember one time, I don't know what my mom was doing, but I had to use the bathroom really bad. And I was begging my mom. I was like, Mom, please, I have to use the bathroom. I have to pee. I have to pee. I have to pee. And I'm screaming and banging on the door. I ended up peeing on myself because I was so afraid. The door ended up being open too, by the way. But and the bathroom was right there, but I was so afraid of leaving my room and getting in trouble that I would rather pee on myself than literally just go to the bathroom. And looking back, I feel so horrible. Like, and I even got in trouble for that. And I was just like, my mom wasn't far off. I could see her if I peeked through the door, sitting at the dining room table. I don't know what she was doing, but she would just do these things where she would ignore me if I was crying, screaming. It's just horrible. And to go out in public knowing that this is your past, when people are like, oh, I miss my childhood, and, oh, my mom, my dad, and it's hard for me because it's like, I can't really relate to that. I don't ever, even though adulthood isn't fun, I don't ever want to go back to childhood. And there were some really good moments, but they were very few. And so few that I only remember the bad moments mostly. And the bad moments were so bad that they still scar me. And it's been like almost 20 years since all of that started. It's horrible. And I guess in a way it definitely pushed me closer to God, which is weird because usually that should pull you away from God. I mean, my whole life the Bible's been used to manipulate me, to just make me feel worthless, or anytime I try to do anything, like even with my podcast now, their favorite thing is, should you be posting videos talking to your mother like that? Or just like shame me for wanting to obey Christ. The whole point of my podcast, one, is to be uncomfortable. I definitely have a voice. I have no problem talking. I have no problem talking about God. But to be online and not to be able to take anything back is a little scary for me because it's like, you don't want to say the wrong thing. But God is my judge, not all the little people that like to comment. Not that I have anybody that does that, but still, like, that's the point that I'm supposed to get out of this podcast. And what you guys get out of this podcast is the things and the lessons that God has taught me. So it's a trade-off. And that's why I continue to post, even though Satan sends his little dweevils to try and stop me from posting these videos. Every time I come back from a break, I come back stronger because the lesson that I learned equips me more. It makes my armor stronger. It makes me stronger so that I can hold out and withstand for longer the next time a battle comes. But it's hard. It's awkward, Even at my job right now, I have really bad, I'm not going to show you guys, but I have some bad self-harm scars on my arms. And because we wear scrubs at my job, and it's usually short sleeves and everything, so everybody can see it. And I just feel them like silently judging me. And it's embarrassing because it's like, I don't, it's nobody else. It looks like they went through something like that. And even though nobody's mentioned it or talked to me about it, I still feel like separated. Sometimes they treat me differently, and not in a bad way. I shouldn't say that I'm treated like I'm stupid or anything like that, but it's hard for me because it's like there was a time where I literally genuinely hated myself because I really thought that there was something so wrong with me for my parents to react the way that they did to me, that I must have been the worst child in the world, and that God was going to hate me, and that I was going to be alone, and that I would rather just die and just leave and not be a burden anymore than what I am now. And what I didn't see is that my genuineness, my softness, my heart was God's gift. That's what's special about me. And even though it's my greatest gift, it can also be my greatest curse. Because even though it makes me be able to connect to people that are alone like that, it makes me alone. And it makes me crave that connection as well. And that's why, I know in 2 other videos ago, I had mentioned that I'm never on the receiving end of, God telling somebody to go talk to me and just give me a word of encouragement. I feel like I was never, ever, ever on the receiving end. So when I finally was on the receiving end, I was dumbfounded because I'm like, usually I'm the person that goes and tells somebody, God's with you, God loves you, you're going to be okay. And to just hear it from somebody else, it was weird because I felt like I've never been on the receiving end. I was like, whoa, is this an angel? Who am I talking to? Pinch me? What's happening? But it was, to experience that though, it was nice. But it's just, it's hard. It's hard, and that's why I want to be honest on my podcast. I don't want to pretend. Oh, I don't. I don't want to pretend that I have it all figured out, because I don't. I'm not always gonna show up on my podcast with my makeup done, my jewelry on, my nails done. Like sometimes I show up and I look crazy, and I admit that I look crazy, and it's okay, because it doesn't matter how I show up. It matters the word that I am speaking, and that's the most important part about it, is that I'm always on here specifically to try and glorify God, and to try and help somebody else. And that's why my podcast, it's about mental health, it's about self-care, learning to protect your peace. And sometimes I post my spiritual dreams. Sometimes my dreams have to do with, end times. Most of the time my dreams have to do with end times. Sometimes my dreams have to do with specific people. Sometimes I'm told to talk to specific people. Sometimes God reveals things to me about other, like, specific people, that's like, oh, they're not your friend, or like, close your mouth when you're around this person. They're not in your best interest. They don't have your best interest at heart. So, God does talk to me through dreams. So I like to have a platform to be able to share that. And, just to be able to encourage other people to not be afraid of who they are and who God made them to be. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely like, it's weird for me, because yeah, even like today, like I started the video, I was just like, you ever feel like you have no reason to be sad, but you're just like, ugh, and that's how I feel today, even though it's kind of sunny out. Not really, it's overcast, but even though I'm done, I'm ready, I'm going somewhere nice, like I just, sometimes it's just like, I don't know, sometimes like with CPTSD, you just get reminded of like how painful it was to go through certain things, and to know that you're still going through it. It's really, really difficult. I really don't think people understand. I really, really don't. Just based off of, how I was treated while going through like really, really low points in my life, there's only very, very few people who stuck up for me, who believed in me, and who encouraged me, and who check up on me despite the problems that they're going through themselves. And I want to highlight one of those things that really like makes me have respect for this person. So sometimes, just to get out of my home, I like to go to my cousin's house. And just because when I go to my cousin's house, I feel like I'm treated with respect. I feel like I'm treated with kindness. I'm not treated differently. I'm not, micromanaged. I'm not looked at with a disgusting lens. You know what I mean? I'm not looked at as incapable. I'm looked at as capable. I'm not looked at as, oh, she has a bunch of mental illnesses, she's a blah, 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 blah. I'm looked at as, you're a work in progress, but you're doing good, and I see you. And so I like being around an environment where I'm encouraged, I'm loved, I'm cherished, always happy to see me, always happy to call me, always happy to message me. And I was there over Christmas break just to get away, just to have a break, and it was the first time I ever left for Christmas. And it was weird, because that would mean that my mom would be home alone. And, I struggled with that, because even though I want to do what's best for me and I want to live my own life, all my life have been my mother's kind of like crutch, I feel like, where she didn't really get to experience the fullness of being alone, because little me was always there, right? Little Sidonia was always there, and sacrificing what she wanted and her needs for my mom. And in the past, I know that I wouldn't have left. I definitely would have stayed, just because my mom would have been home alone on Christmas. But I know that I left this year because God has been working on me to step away from that relationship and to move into the relationships that he has for me in the future. And to know that I don't have to put up with abuse. I don't have to put up with manipulation. And I'm an adult now. I can do what I want, basically. Like, if you want to go to your cousin's house and your cousin's like, Sidoni, come over. Sidoni's gonna come over. Like, I'm coming over. I was gonna have and I had a good freaking time. I do not regret. Okay. I do not regret. Speaking of that makes me so happy too. Because like, no, I had such a great time. And I'm so happy that I pushed myself to go. And immediately the devil comes in. What happens when grandma calls me and she's like, so you're going away for Christmas? You know, that's gonna make your mom really sad. She's gonna be really sad. And I'm like, when was I in control of my mother's happiness? I'm not responsible for her happiness. If she wants to go away for Christmas, she can go away. There's nothing stopping her. And that's the first time I ever stuck up for myself. And I am so freaking proud. Because in the past, I literally would have been like, oh my gosh, she's right. Let me cancel my train tickets. Let me blah, 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 blah. I literally stuck up for myself, finally. And it felt so good because I was like, yes, like finally I'm protecting my peace. Wait a minute. I'm not responsible anymore. Right? I'm not your therapist anymore. I'm not your punching bag anymore. If I want to go away, I can, despite how that makes you feel. You're in control of your own happiness. If I stayed with you, you wouldn't have been concerned about how that made me feel. Sad, alone, awkward. You know? Especially with everything that happened just months before. That would have been a depressing Christmas. And Christmas time is you're supposed to have fun. You're supposed to be with family. You're supposed to be cooking. You're supposed to be watching movies. And that's exactly what we did when I went away to my cousin's house. And I had such a good time, okay? Literally such a good time. And, okay, sorry. What I was trying to get to with this is my cousin has been such a big support for me when she doesn't need to be. And I just want to highlight that I 100% glorify God for that. Because I really haven't had anyone in my life really genuinely to be there and to stay there, you know? And it was hard. It kind of still is hard for me to believe it at first because it's like I'm so used to people saying, I'm going to be there for you and then leave. But she actually sees it. And I believe that's just because of her relationship with Christ. She's tight with him too. And I'm not saying she's all the model Christian, blah, 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 but she's tight with him. She has a really powerful testimony. Maybe one of these days I'll get her on my podcast. I might do that. I might. But her mother recently passed away, New Year's Day. So this was like a couple days ago. And she's been in a lot of pain. And so we're going back to visit her and to go to her mother's funeral. That's my great aunt that passed away. So my grandma's sister, older sister. And so we're going back to visit her, and I just wanted to highlight one of the things that I was concerned about was like having to go up there with my mom, my grandma, and me in the same car. It's just not a good look. My mom doesn't treat my grandma very well. She doesn't treat me very well, and I know that both me and my grandma are gonna be like, remember like the takeoff feeling I was talking about in the last video where your blood just goes woo, and I feel like I'm about to take off like a jet. I'm just like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, that's how it is. Imagine being crammed in the car for a couple of hours driving. No, ma'am. But anyway, my aunt, I didn't want to bring that up because I know that she is busy, you know, planning a funeral, dealing with the emotions she's dealing with, losing her mother. You know, that's horrible. And so I just kept to myself and I was like, okay, I'm going to figure it out. My aunt actually asked me to call her this morning. And she was just like, Sidoni, how you doing? And even though her voice is still a little bit raspy and you can tell that she's been crying, she's still so happy to see me. And she's just like, you know, I've been thinking about you and I've been worried about you having to come up with your mom and your grandma. You know, if you have to do anything to protect your peace, like, you can go by yourself. You don't have to go in the car with them. And I just felt so touched because, like, she shouldn't even be worrying about me. You lost your mom and you're worried about me. Like, I'm just shocked by that. You know, like, once again, I feel like I'm on the receiving end when I never, ever, 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 ever am. Like, I'm never on the receiving end of that kind of compassion, unless it's from God specifically, you know. But, like, from other people, it's so rare that I'm genuinely, like, somebody's concern, you know, genuine concern. And that my well-being is put above somebody else's well-being, you know. So it just meant a lot to me. Just experiencing that today was super, like, it warms my heart a lot, you know, because it's just like I'm so used to being hurt that when I'm not, it's like a miracle. Yeah, it just feels like, what? You know, like, thank you. I appreciate it. Like, I don't even know how to thank you enough. Like, I don't know. It just, I don't know. But, yeah, I think that's all I have for you guys today, honestly. Um, yeah, that's probably all I have for you guys today. Yeah, if you're not subscribed already, do me a favor and hit that red button. Because you know you like to see your girl's face. Don't even play with me. Hey, don't even play with me. This is your second video and you haven't subscribed yet. What are you doing? You think this is for free? No, ma'am. You better hit that subscribe button. And that bell button too, because you never want them to post. I say every week. At first it was every Wednesday, and then I was like, you know what, this ain't gonna happen. Then it was every week, and then I started my job, and I was like, So we're gonna see, but hit that bell button if you actually want to know when I'm gonna post. So, all right, I hope this encouraged somebody today. I hope you guys go with the grace of God. Don't ever lose your faith in Christ. He loves you very, very much. And yeah. Bye.
Head below the surface, almost never certain of the truth. I'm always forever